Welcome, everybody. We are here for our next episode with Mr. Dirk Stevens. Dirk, how you doing today?
I'm good, Derek. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Tell us a little about yourself and your business.
Well, for the last 40 years, I've ran a furniture company. Started out as a small company and, a little in a small area. And at one point we had branched out to 3 stores, but we now we had an opportunity to put a very large store in one of my biggest markets. So we went down to 2 stores again, and it worked out pretty well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll jump right into the questions. What have you done in life prior to the point of creating your business?
Well, here's the thing. It's a family business, and I have never known a situation where I wasn't a part of or worked at the family business. My father came out of the Navy in 1955, and without a job, he ended up buying a Pepsi Cola distributorship. And they used to sell them like bread routes. You'd have an actual route and you bought it. He did that for about 10 years. And then after he ruined his back doing that, he had to get out of it and got into real estate, got into restaurant. My parents had a restaurant for 10 years or so. Then they got into the antique and used furniture business, which I kind of grew up with him doing that. He'd do a lot of picking and stuff and purchasing for that. And then we just kind of, by the fact of the need that we couldn't get enough quality stuff, we started getting into some inexpensive new furniture. And from that, I liked that better. And that's how I kind of got into it. But I grew up in it. I mean, there was always something to do. We always had a business, and any free moment you were working.
That's what I love about my business is being able to teach my kids, because I think Absolutely. That's one of the most overlooked parts in our education system that is not taught, and that's what our country's founded on is business.
Absolutely.
Owners.
Yeah.
Now, what life experience triggered your desire to carry on the family business?
The opportunity, I guess more than anything, I mean, they really weren't into the new furniture, but the opportunity was there. And, like I said, from the time that I was probably 10 years old, I was helping him out hauling furniture and doing, different things. And, I remember my father and my mother, seriously hardworking people, and always had to have lessons. Everything that you were doing was a life's lesson. And my father one time said to me when I was 12 years old, "I'm going to teach you how to make something from nothing and build it and sell it." He grew up on a farm. And so we proceeded to, he bought this piece of property nearby our house, and it was a wooded lot and fields, and we cleared that for the next 2 months, then plowed it up, took care of everything, got it all ready, and planted it 5 acres full of sweet corn. I thought, this is great. He said, everything we make and we sell it, you can have it, but you can't have any of it till it's done. And so I thought, this is great. We got it all done now. And we didn't realize we had just started. And then you have to weed it, and you have to take care of it. Then you have to pick it. Then you're out the whole month of August. You're out on the corner selling sweet corn. But at the end, I made $700-800 and was able to put that into my account, which would, at $1 a dozen, that would be like $3,500 today. So as a 12 and 13-year-old, I made out really well. But the moral of the story was, you have to work hard. No matter you're not making money at that particular point or not, you have to look at the end goal and realize that if you work hard and you do everything the way you're supposed to, there's going to be a payoff at the end.
Awesome.
And I think that's why a lot of people, when I started the furniture part of this, a lot of people told me I couldn't do it. And I mean, there was a lot more people that told me I couldn't do it than thought that was a good idea. And basically you have to believe in yourself. And luckily I had a wife who had a very good job. She believed in it. And, you have to just, it's a stick to it attitude that you have to put your nose to the grindstone. And even when you're not making money coming back your way, you can see progress. You just have to keep doing it. And at the end, you're going to see a profit from it.
Is there one or specific life lesson that was taught by your parents as far as in business that you feel to this day has really become a true asset to your business?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good lessons, but probably the biggest single one, relationships. Anything you're going to do, if you're going to get into a situation in life, but in business for sure, I can remember them saying, listen, you're going to have a lot of relationships. You're going to have, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, employer, employee, partners, whatever you're going to get into. And when you can look at a situation, whenever you're dealing with it, if you feel strongly that you're right in that situation, state your case. And if you can sit back and look at it and say, gee, maybe I need to make a change, it's the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And in customer, salesperson, customer is the same way. When we're dealing with it to the best of our ability, how can we fix this to make it so that it's going to be the way we would want it to come out? Is it something we can fix? Is it something that is their expectations are beyond anything we can do? Because that does happen on occasion too. And then when you're right, you have to stand your ground. But other than that, that's probably the best advice I ever had in business. It was just treat people always, whether they're your employees, whether they're customers, whatever. You treat them the way you want to be treated.
What habits do you feel are a liability to your business?
Habits of my habits that are a liability?
Yeah.
Loyalty, no doubt about it. My wife will tell anybody that will listen. He's loyal to a fault. If he believes in somebody, he will stick with them. Sometimes longer than he should because of loyalty. I build relationships. Again, relationships are everything. Whether it's who I'm working with, manufacturer wise, who I'm buying advertising from. I have to have the best product, but I tend to like to deal with people that I have a good relationship with. And if you've taken good care of me, I never forget it.
I love that answer, because there's a lot of people that I've talked to that it's similar to that. It's like, I've got too big of a heart, or I look for the good in every situation, and you put the wool over your eyes sometimes, but at least you're true to yourself. And that's what I love about most of these. There's so many good business owners out there that are overlooked because and you get that mentality before you get into business sometimes that's a weakness and you need to let that go. But stay true to yourself, I think, is what is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. The thing that is, I know it's a weakness, but it's something that it's ingrained into me. Like I said, so much of what I do is from my upbringing. It's the things that I was taught all the way through. I can't change it. I keep saying, yep, I'm not going to be loyal to a fault anymore. I'm not going to do that. And, as the situation comes up and I'm like, okay, I did it again.
Is there a moment you can identify as like a spark to your business where you notice just a really big amount of growth or change that you attribute where you're at now to?
There's a lot of plateaus. I had, my parents were my biggest influence, no doubt about it, but I had a lot of, I got into running the store. I ran the store for them for 8 years when we split it out. And when I decided to purchase it in 1990 from them. So I bought them out in 1990 and I had a lot of other people. I was a young guy in the business. There was a lot of anybody else that was in our business as an independent retailer were in their 50s and 60s. So I had this great source of information. I was friends with all of them. And I early on, man, I pick people's brains. I'm just one of those people that I like having this kind of a conversation like we're having right now. And I will try to take what they say, and I take everything that I like out of it, and I can put that into what I'm doing. I really like the way they're doing this, and let the rest of it go. So all the way through there were plateaus. And I remember one of my guys that was one of my closest friends that I had and was a real mentor for me. And he said, you have to remember a few things. Number one, that you run a great business, but you don't make sure that the customer knows what you're doing for them. You give them free delivery. You give them, you give them everything. Your prices are better than anybody else in the area, and it's, remember one thing, it's not what you are giving in the sale. It's what they believe you are giving them. And you are not, that part of your business is not coming through. And he said, anybody that's in your area knows that you're doing this, but you don't get enough benefit out of it. And so he taught me different ways to make sure that I was getting that benefit out of it. And I can remember when we were starting out, when I first came in with my parents, and we would hit these plateaus, and the first time that we hit $1 million in sales, and I can remember saying, wow, but this store is doing $2.5 million. If I could do $2.5 million, man, I'd be sitting on Easy Street. Surpassed that quite some time ago. And, I'm still not on Easy Street. You got to remember that it's not, they say life's a journey, not a destination. It's the same with the business. It's a place. Those are the ways we keep score. In my mind, the numbers are how I keep score. I'm extremely competitive. And that's how I keep track of how I'm doing. However, once I hit it, that just means now I have to try to beat it.
Yeah. Now you've got a base mark to start over with.
Yep. And like I always told the boys, as you grow it, you start and you grow that monster, you got to feed that monster, and it's constant. The thing about being in business is it's different than other jobs and so on, is that you think about it, whether you're doing it right then or not. I think anybody that's working on this path right now, I think you would probably agree. You're thinking about it probably most all the time. Yeah. I mean, I dream about it. I when I'm sleeping, I dream about it. It's crazy. Your mind is running for the business all the time.
If there's nights that you are not awake because of something regarding your business, then there's something going wrong. So, yeah.
Exactly. If it's going right, I'm worried about, okay, now what happens if, that's just how I'm made, so yeah. I'm constantly trying to improve it, because, well, what if this does this, or what if this does that? How am I going to fix that? And that's just kind of how I'm made up.
Well, and as business owners, you have to be not worrying about the problems that are going to happen, because they're going to happen. It's correct. How can we find a faster solution to fix it and get past
not have it happen again?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is problems are going to happen. And some of the problems are nothing that you created. I mean, we had a flood in 2018 that could have easily knocked us right out of business. I mean, it wiped out our Montour, our main location, which had our warehouse and everything for both operations. And I was out of business there for about 4.5 months, and I had flood insurance, but it cost me, substantially more than what I got for flood insurance. And I mean, that could have been catastrophic, but you have to just sit down and say, okay, how do I get myself out of this? Similar to the pandemic, it's like, what's going to happen next? You're trying to constantly say, okay, we've fixed this now, and here comes the next layer,
And having known your son Kyle, I know that specific event was turned into a positive for him, because he realized that he has to diversify. And so that, exactly. I mean, it's awesome that your whole family kind of has that mentality of, all right, we got dealt some crap right now, but let's turn this into a positive and make sure it doesn't happen again. Or
Exactly.
if it does, that we're going to bounce right back from it.
Absolutely. It's, life is going to give you some things that are going to be tough, and then it's about how do I fix it, and do the best I can to make it so it won't happen again, because it will happen.
What's one task or thing in business that you just absolutely hate to do?
Accounting.
I love
Hands
that that's
down.
Everybody's answer.
Nah, it's accounting. I understand. To me, it's boring. I hated it when I took it in school. I hate it. It's a necessary evil. I understand that I need the numbers that I need to have, and that I need to look at. But if I can make one suggestion, because I went through, I think we've talked about that with you before. We went through a situation where the person that had been doing it for me for 25 years, I have a bookkeeper in the company, and then I have a CPA, and I lost both of them within a very short amount of time. Not an easy thing to replace and get it. And we went through a couple of misfires, and I'll tell you, you want to make sure you have somebody who's good at it and has your back, so that you make sure things are getting done the right way. And
they more or less have the keys to your company, and
they really do. They can really make you or break you.
Yeah.
And if you don't think so, man, find out how bad they can mess things up in about 6 months. And we got a lesson taught to us real quick. And it took us a year to clean up, because we're still, we were trying to identify what they had messed up, and that's the biggest thing, is the cost of not just fixing it up, but identifying what have they missed. And so, I fortunate for me, my father had an accountant the whole time I can ever remember as a kid. He had the same guy, and I can just hear his voice in the background, telling, make sure you got it. If you're off a penny, you might as well be 10,000, and you make sure everything is done a certain way. It's important. That's important, but I hate it. Absolutely hate it.
And what you said too is really, as a non-business owner, when you think of cost, you think of dollars only, but as a business owner, there's opportunity costs, there's time costs, there's employee costs, there's training costs. There's so many costs tied into everything that what may look like, like you said, a penny is really $10,000 by the time you train somebody and lose the time on it and have to find the problem and fix it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the key is just getting the right person. And, I had a friend, one of the many people that, has a store in our upstate area. And when I first lost my bookkeeper, and then later lost my accountant, and he passed away, and he said, boy, I hope you go through a better situation than I had, because that was a nightmare. And I was like, oh, I think we got it all covered. He was absolutely right. Again, what you're going to find from other people that are in these experiences, you're not alone. I mean, this goes on all over, in all businesses.
If you go back to the first day of being the actual owner of your business, with the knowledge you have now, would you do anything differently or focus on anything differently from day one?
I probably, it's from day one, probably not. And there's always some things you would change, but I had a lot of opportunities. I told you I had a lot of friends. I was the young gun, and every one of these people were very helpful to me. But there was also an ulterior motive. They all wanted me to buy them out when they got out, to get out of the business. And so they all would work with me and everything. And I had many opportunities to expand by doing that. But to me, I was on different boards, and I coached. I think that I coached basketball and soccer for the kids all the way through, even all through high school and so on. And the reason I didn't do it was because of my family. I know myself, I can only do it one way. If I was to have bought those other stores, I would have never been home. And so I said, no, I can make a good living doing just the one store right now. There's time to do that. And I'm not going to spread myself that thin.
What do you do to stay ahead of trends in your competition?
Well, I'll tell you, trends, you know, through the years, we shop our competition. All of us do. We shop to see different things. We go to trade markets and so on, where we go and see what the newest trends are going to be. But I would say some of the biggest trends right now is in advertising. Some of the hardest things. I mean, when I first got going, you know, you would put ads on in the newspaper, and then you'd have the backup ads in radio and TV. And now newspapers are a thing of the past almost. Radio stations, it's so diluted with so many stations, and then having XM and having the ability to stream in your car and all those things. And then similar with TV. I mean, TV is going through what radio and newspaper did 5-6 years ago. So it's changing immensely how we try to reach the public. That's the biggest trend change I can probably say that we're having to deal with. And it's not easy. It's hard to figure it all out. Luckily, I have 3 boys who all work for me in college, and they all came on board, and they all are better at that than I am. I admit that I am not as good. I was great at doing the old type advertising. I always have liked, that's been the one thing I did like to do, where a lot of businesses don't want to do that. I was always the one who enjoyed seeing what made people tick, what makes them come in. If I do this, that brings more people in, and that was important to me. It's tough for me to figure this whole thing out with all the Facebook and we do it, but I'm not as in tune with that. They're much better.
That's what's awesome. I mean, as business owners is you have to be aware of your strengths and your weaknesses and know who's stronger at you than things. I mean, I like to think through high school and college. I was born in '80, so you know, I was there for the first cell phone in the beginning of the internet, and my kids don't really understand that. But
yeah,
seeing now the need for social media from a marketing standpoint, and my daughter who's turned 17 is really good at it.
sure.
I love the fact that I can lean on her for, hey, will this work? Will people look at this, or can you just do it for me? Knowing that she's way better at it than I am.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to find out, talk to one of the teenagers or even younger. They know it a lot better than we do. I mean, it's hard to believe that it was only about 10 years ago there wasn't such a thing as a smartphone, you know.
Yeah.
And now they're able to do anything they want to with this little device in their hand. And so reaching them, you know, they tune out of a lot of the things that we always, I mean, they're not necessarily watching regular television as we knew it. You know, they're not watching necessarily NBC or ABC or CBS or any of those local stations. Luckily for us, our demographic tends to be a little bit older, so they're still watching some of those. But as we try to hit some of these younger demographics, there's a learning curve there. So, you know, we've had to, even with having the kids doing it, we've farmed some of it out to people that specialize in that, and we've been experimenting with that with some success. So that seems to be the way we're heading. But there's a serious learning curve.
Oh yeah, for sure. What did you do to make your business and your products unique?
So one of the big plateaus that hit when we first got in that area, there were 45 locations that you could buy furniture. Right now in that same area, there's, I think, 8. Wow. The people that are left are better financed, better merchandisers, better marketers. You know, they tend to be, you know, your big guys like Ashley and Raymores. And so when you know they're coming into town, you have to try to figure out, okay, you know, I was afraid when I first saw that they were plopping down the first Ashley gallery in the state in my backyard, I was worried. And when Raymores put one of their big new big stores right there as well, I was worried. So the first thing you do is, you know, we talk about differentiating your business. It's one of the key things in Amazon. Mm-hmm. Absolutely what I did. I said, okay, what can we do that they can't? They're big, they do a lot of business, but we can do a lot of business off the crumbs they leave. And so the one thing they can't do is turn around in a hurry. They can't do things like a lot of custom order. They can't do a lot of specialty type things. And so we aligned ourselves immediately with companies that specialized in, you pick the frame, you pick the fabric, and you go there, you're going to get vanilla, you're going to get chocolate. You come here, it's like Baskin Robbins. You can pick what you want. You get exactly what you want. And we can do it. It's going to take just a little bit longer, but we specialize in it, to the point of where a lot of the competitors have even sent people to us that want to do that. They said, hey, we can't do that. Our companies won't let us. There's a lot of room for error there. And so that's what really has helped us. We also added floor covering. 25 years ago when this happened, we got very heavy into that, offering the full service. You can come into our store and do the floor covering, and we'll probably be able to make it so we deliver the furniture you bought right in behind the installers. And we do that a lot.
That's awesome.
So those are the things we can do that a big guy can't do. And that's what you have to figure out, what your competition is doing and where you can beat them and where you can excel.
How do you prioritize your tasks for your day, your week, and your month?
Well, usually from a day standpoint, I try to write down a couple things in my phone. If I don't write it down on a note, it doesn't happen. If I can't make it, because once you start your day, it's just like being on a treadmill. It's like, okay, this happened. Oh, I didn't get that done today. If I don't write down those couple of key things at night that I need to do tomorrow morning, it probably won't happen. From a weekly standpoint, my priorities are making sure that the advertising is in place, what's running for the week, and the same, moving it out for a 3-month period. I try to make my advertising so that I have it charted out on actually right on a calendar, so I can see this is what's running here, this is what's running there, and that makes it easier for me to know that things are being done. Usually once a week, try to have a meeting with the managers, my sons primarily, and the guy that runs our warehouse. Try to make sure I touch base with him at least once a week, to make sure there's no issues or concerns that he's running into. On an annual basis, or on a quarterly or annual basis, once a week, I also meet with my bookkeeper. We have a standing thing that I go over payables. I go over everything that we might have to have, and we have a meeting to see exactly where we are at, and help me with my cash flow, help me with everything I'm going to need to do. On an annual basis, I'm looking at a more broad picture. Again, advertising, but what are our goals as far as numbers, and having meetings with all the salespeople and giving them their expectations and their numbers and things like that. So,
how do you manage stress?
Not very well. Stress is just part of it. I will tell you, I am one who internalizes, as you can tell. I'm sure I am somebody who lives it. I internalize it. And I have a problem that I have to solve, I won't sleep for a couple of days. I literally will be the type that until I figure this out and until I have my plan in place, I can't get it. So stress is a big problem. It's a real problem. You have to just find ways to relieve that pressure.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think all of us struggle with, and we've got our own ways, but
absolutely.
Sometimes the hardest part.
My family is probably the biggest thing. I spend time with my family, and they know how I am. They know that I get worked up on it, and they try to do things together, and try to whether it's having a pool party or we bought some land here during. My wife and I like to travel. That's one of our only vices we have, probably, is we love to travel. And we couldn't travel this year, so we bought a piece of land with some campsites on it and campers. And so we all can, it's real close by and we can all get there and get together.
Oh, fun.
It's kind of cool.
That's awesome. To what do you attribute your success?
I would say my relationships, whether it was my relationships with my parents, and what they taught me. My wife is, I mean, you got to have, my father always told me, if you're ever, the hardest partner you're ever going to pick is your spouse. Make sure you don't want to mess that one up. You need to get a good, so fortunately we've been married, we'll be 40 years this year. So, I mean, we got married young and we've been together for 40 years. And when I'm going through that, she's there to be supportive. And she's also there to give me a kick in the butt when I need to get off on something. But then having the kids around, being able to teach them and work with them and watch them as they start going off into their own ventures and seeing how they're doing it, that's just cool. It's hard to describe, but there's something about being able to see them take it and run with it and really do great things. So
here's a fun one for all business owners. How do you effectively scale?
Scaling is it's a funny thing. I think every business is going to be different. I think you have to look at how much volume is coming your way, how much business you're doing. I mean, one of the hardest things is, and I'm one of the people that I err on the side of having too much inventory, and that can be bad too. You need to have the turns on your inventory to make sure that you're having the proper amount of inventory. I mean, if you've got way too much and you're not getting enough turns on it, cut it back, but I have a tendency to not want to, my father would always tell me, you can't sell from an empty cart. And so I would constantly be making sure that we probably ordered more than what we needed. And, that's just me scaling it. Be cautious of what your cost of goods sold end up being. That, you're going to have a hard time scaling at too fast of a rate. Have other avenues that can help fund it. If you watch, I love watching stories of businesses. If you watch Shark Tank at all, I love watching that show. And one of the biggest reasons that they all get in there, and one of the biggest reasons that businesses try to go there, is because they're growing and they can't afford to fund the inventory coming in. They can't get it in to do the business that they know they can do. So it's a tough thing to know exactly, but I would say make sure that you have your cash flow in order first, and make sure you have a way to pay for that growth. You've got to find a way to do it. I mean, because it'll topple you in a hurry.
This is a kind of a nugget for you and everybody watching, but I love watching Shark Tank. But another show that I don't think many people know of is called Undercover Billionaire.
I love it.
I love that show. I'm not caught up on this one, but I was so enthralled on the initial season, starting from literally nothing and trying to build $1 million business.
The gentleman in Pittsburgh, yeah, that was crazy. Starting with nothing at all and being able to do that, it was really fun to watch. Again, what did he have to do? He had to first be able to survive, have enough money to survive. Then he had to have enough money to fund the growth that he was needing to do. Just
like everything you're talking about is relationships. I need to build a team. I need to find those people. So yeah. What are your company goals, both short and long term?
Well, for my goals, short term, trying to finish weaving our way through this pandemic. I mean, it's challenging. I mean, now we're dealing with not just shortages and delays from manufacturing standpoint. We're dealing with shipping problems. I mean, now, you know, I've told everybody, hey, I see this coming through in a couple tsunami waves here. First one's coming, and it's here right now. It's creating this big backup and this big delay. And we talked about cash flow a minute ago. The next thing that comes after that is, as this stuff all starts hitting, the payments come due for all the stuff that's going to hit on it. So you're trying to navigate through all of that, trying to make all your customers happy, which you're never going to be able to tell them what they want to hear right now with all the companies. Nobody's shipping the way they normally do. And it's not just in our business, it's in all businesses. And after that, growing, you know, looking for some good growth next year. And I'm looking at personally probably semi-retiring in the next few years. So, you know, there's a situation where I've been on the unique end of having a situation where I was buying it out from my parents. So there was this one transition. Now there's a transition where I feel they're ready to do this over the next couple of years here. Is trying to find the right way to sell them the business and be able to have them just take it and do that. So that's kind of the next big thing in the next few years, is trying to find a way to make that happen.
Awesome. And then you and your wife can start traveling more.
Yeah, I mean, we're anxious. She's got the bug again. You know, we've been fortunate that we've been able to take, in the last 5 years, we've driven through all 48 lower states. We don't mind windshield time. We get along great driving and have a lot of fun, have a lot of the same likes. We've driven through all but I think 3 of the Canadian provinces as well, and did a lot of extensive traveling through some neat stuff. And now we want to go back and really drill down and see some new stuff. But yeah, we're excited. We're excited to try it again.
Well, we're down to the end. If you had one piece of advice for someone who is just now starting out, what would it be?
Expect to work hard. And this is my father coming on me. Not just work hard, work smart. Everything you're doing, you're evaluating, how can I make that better? And if you're going to make mistakes, expect that you're going to make mistakes along the way. Identify them first of all and admit to it and fix it. If you know, the biggest thing is admitting that you've made a mistake and that I don't want to do that again, and fix it so you don't do it again. That's probably the biggest thing.
Awesome. Well, I like to end with all business owners share the same asset, and that's time. And I really appreciate you sharing your time with us. It means a lot. Is there anything you'd like to close on? Any thoughts, quotes, words of advice, or anything about your business you'd like to share with people that may be in your area? Any new sales coming up or new and exciting things?
Well, we're running a friends and family right now promotion, and some pretty good, you know, through this tax time and the stimulus that's coming out. So that's usually our biggest discounts we're going to have are during that. So we're trying to get our name out there. But I just want to give a shout out to you. I am a huge fan of anything about biographies. Most of the books that I read are about interesting people that have succeeded or failed, and why. It's intriguing to me because you can see a pattern. I think you're probably seeing that with your show. But I've enjoyed watching all of your videos.
Thank you.
It's pretty cool, and that's kind of a passion that I have. So I've been enjoying it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed this episode. I truly have, and look forward to the next one. Remember, guys, I always try to end, God loves you, so do I, and have a great week.
Thanks, Dirk.
All right.